Hello, everyone. Welcome to Writing Quest. My name is Brennan Pugh, and today we have Aaron Jordan with Wolfsbane Comics with us. He's an indie comic creator. I believe he's got a new book coming out, and so just really excited to talk with him about the process of how they create their comic books. Nice to meet you. How are you doing today?
Oh, fantastic, Brendan. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. So, why don't you get us started by just telling us who you are and where Wolfsbane kind of came from and the kind of stuff you do, like that whole story. Why don't you give us that?
Okay. So I am a indie comic creator. I started around 2002 to 2003. And my company, Wolfsbane Comics, typically covers providing an entertaining story that lets you think for yourself, and that also um, talks about humanity and stuff like that. It's pretty much like a thought provoking set of projects that I like to do.
Yeah, very cool. And so, have you been were you in the comic book space before, or was this kind of a new thing? How did that kind of happen?
Oh, so I've been into comic books since I was a little kid, but I never really started doing publishing until recent this decade. So, see, sorry. I used to be a real big Marvel fan back in the day, and I did read a little bit of DC. I was mainly big subscriber to the big two. But
Hmm.
lately, I found that there's a lot of cool indie books out there that really do just as good of a job as telling, you know, a, a great story and providing entertainment. So I'm glad to be able to join in that effort as well.
Yeah, for sure. Why don't you give us a rundown of? I see you got this new one. Part of the reason I found you was I saw someone had shared a post about your Pendragon: The Legend Foretold series. Why don't you give us a
Why don't you
rundown
give
of
us a rundown of
some of the things you've created?
Okay. So, my first book is actually titled Wolfsbane, and that's like a sort of a horror mystery title, and it features a teenager who discovers that he's a werewolf, but because teenagers are rash and everything, he ends up accidentally killing someone, and
Hmm.
that leads him to um he gets really guilty about that, and because of that, he chooses to dedicate his life and to use his newfound curse for good. And with Pendragon, the book that's coming out now, it's pretty much all a story about mentorship and being worthy to receive a mantle that you've inherited. And this story came about. I don't know. I think this story has been in the works for a while. With in terms of like me grasping with who I am, who I'm supposed to be, and I think a lot of other people have that kind of realization or thought process as well. But pretty much the story is about um, it's pretty much an Arthurian tale, and it picks up after the death of King Arthur.
Hmm.
And even though he put an end to one of the biggest threats in his era, there's still another threat that needs to be taken out. But since he's not there, his friend and mentor Merlin, or in this case in the book, is called Mervin. Um, he searches throughout time and space to find someone who's worthy enough to pick up the mantle and claim the sword Excalibur.
Hmm.
But it turns out that the only one who's even capable of doing it is basically a nobody from the East Coast in modern day. So um, he has to try. He has to try and train this boy to be the hero that everyone needs him to be, while at the same time, the hero, David Gracie, that's his name. He has to figure out who he is and if he can do it in a way that both lives up to Arthur and to himself.
Yeah, that's really cool. I like how you kind of, it sounds like you pull a lot of inspiration from yourself in the sense that, you know, you're trying to explore for yourself, how do I become a better person? How do I live up to who I'm supposed to be? I really like that. I'm similar in my stories. I'm kind of pulling the themes and stuff from exploring my own kind of psyche and who I am, and am I becoming the person I'm supposed to be, all that. So I really appreciate that, actually.
Oh, thank you. Honestly, I think like a lot of the reason why we read comics and even why we read stories and books in general today is due to the whole self-reflection process and us trying to discover new parts of ourselves and trying to see how we can push that out into the world and make it a better place. But,
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like, that's part of the reason we tell stories. I'm a big proponent of this, of we tell stories and we explore stories because they inspire us to be better. So like, I want to follow heroes that don't remind me of how terrible I am, but actually inspire me to become a better person.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
go ahead.
Agree with that.
Yeah. So, first off, I'm just looking at the website here. Your artwork looks incredible. How did you go about? Do you do the artwork? Did you find someone? Like, how did that process go about for finding an artist?
Oh, so with all my projects, I'm not a good artist. I'll flat out say that now. With every project I have, I try to find I write the script, and then I try to find someone or a couple people that can match the tone of what I want to do. And right now with Pendragon, I managed to find two brilliant artists in Carly Ingracia. He does the line work for the book, and David Smelling. He does the beautiful painted colors that you see. And I honestly think that these two are match made in heaven. They're able to work together so well. With David, his process is basically keeping all the line work that Carly did, while filling in the shades and making everything look so lifelike yet fantastical at the same time.
Yeah,
it really helped the book.
Yeah, that's really cool. Yeah, it just really looks. It's got a very unique style, but it works really well. Like it really pops, and I'm a big fan. I love seeing. Part of the reason that it drew me to, I was drawn to when I first saw the picture of whatever was shared. I saw it on X or whatever. I love that it's more of the fantasy medieval comic book. I feel like there's not a lot of those. Everything's either kind of superheroes or aliens or something else. But like to have it be kind of medieval fantasy, I think is really great.
Oh yeah. See, like growing up as a kid, I always liked watching the sword fights and everything like that. I was a huge fan of that and martial arts, and I wanted to put a little bit of that in this book. So it's like the fighting it may not be realistic, but it also tells a story with the characters' struggles and where they are in that particular moment.
Yeah, that's really cool. Do you so before I want to talk about your writing process, of course, but before we move on a little, is there any particularly maybe from the big two or even from the indie space, any other books that have like inspired you to follow this path? Like, is there any characters that were like big inspirations for you? Basically, yeah. Do you have anything like that that's gives you the inspiration to create what you're creating?
Honestly, yeah. I'd say a big component would be Spider-Man. The stories that they're able to tell with that character back then were really compelling to me, and they kind of pushed me to, keep trying and keep doing, like keep doing my best. And if we're gonna be talking about the indie scene, there's quite a few. I've seen, like, I wouldn't really name a particular book, but it's just the work that everyone's been doing, and the fact that even if the book doesn't live up to their standards, or it doesn't have like a big budget or anything like that, they still persevere and they do the best that they can, and that's really inspiring to me.
Yeah. The indie space for comics has really blown up. I recently interviewed Chase Amioy, who created Dino Dames. I don't know if you've seen them at all. He had reached out to me asking to review the book, but then so I reached out and we decided to chat, and I talked with him about that too, about like it's just there's so many indie comic book creators right now. Like it's really cool to see such a renaissance of it happening.
Exactly. Shoot, like, what was I gonna say? There really are quite a few, and it's like they're even branching out into the manga space too. That's something I really love to see.
Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about your writing process. So, how is this more like a Pendragon or your other ones? Are they more like is it comic book length, or is it more like a graphic novel length? And then how do you go about your writing process? Like, where do you start? How do you develop it? Do you outline it first? Do you just go for it? How does that work for you?
I gotcha. So, back when I first started, I remember I did do short comic lengths around like 24 to 32 pages. But now as I look and reflect on my previous works, I find that I honestly don't really like writing short stories. I think that for the stuff that I want to show, it takes me it takes me more pages to actually get that done. And I think that it's better for me if I do graphic novel length for most of my stories I pump out. And my writing process, that typically comes with me getting a general idea of what I want, and then I go into the plotting phase of how I want the entire story to go. And then once I have that mostly figured out, I go into the scripting phase for each individual issue or the graphic novel if it comes down to that. And it's really fun. Once I get that done, then I try to find the editor that's able to refine those ideas, and then at the same time, I look for that artist that's able to bring that story to life.
Yeah. So is it just you then? Like you're doing the writing, but then you go out and it seems like you're finding new people to work with for each subsequent book that you're creating.
Exactly. My ideal process would be having like say I do Wolfsbane. I would want the same artist or the same team for the entire series, and so on and so forth with whoever I pick for Pendragon. And I think that helps with a lot of the consistency for for like the series and the company and whatnot. And it also keeps that flavor intact.
Yeah. Well, and it gives, I think, each individual, for lack of a better term, franchise, will say, Wolfsbane is one and then Pendragon's another kind of thing. It gives them each their own like distinct style, and they don't all just look the same. So I like that. I like it. You're keeping it, it's not all going to just look the same necessarily.
Exactly, because we're working in different genres, right? So I think that you want to actually go for what suits that genre the best.
Yeah. Do you plan to do more of a connected universe type thing at any point, or do you want to keep things like you're just going to write the stories that you want to write regardless of whether or not they connect?
I'm actually trying to do a little bit of both. I want something that could tie in later on down the road, but the stories you don't have to read. Like let's say Wolfsbane, you read all of Wolfsbane. You don't have to read Pendragon to know what's going on in one of those things. It would be like if we ever do like a crossover or anything like that, it would have to be a story that actually fits and makes sense within the world. And right now I do have something planned, but I'm gonna wait a little bit before I actually put that into fruition.
Yeah, I've talked to a lot of people about this. It's kind of the whole like, so Marvel's a great example of, especially the MCU, of like continuing a franchise for that long and everything has to be connected is really hard. And so I think like it's kind of imploding on itself. And that's where like Marvel Comics and DC Comics, like they always just end up rebooting things or they restart it. And I think people are, especially in the indie space, are finding like you have to be really careful and you got it. Like, I think the loose connectivity is probably where most people are going to land because of that.
Exactly. That
gives more freedom.
Oh, exactly. Shoot. And honestly, with like Marvel and stuff like that, doesn't that also like give you some like continuity issues and stuff like that?
Yeah. So like, Marvel, it's like they, everything is like there's time travel and multiverses, and then they do something and it like cancels everything out for something else. And so it's like one of the things that's interesting about it is it starts to like remove the stakes. So, the character dies in the movie or in the comic book, and it's like, not really, like they'll be back at some point. So it kind of removes the like emotional weight of if something happens in the story, you're just like, yeah, okay.
Exactly. Like there's no point.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely something I'm going to be trying to avoid.
Yeah. Well, that's like, so Brandon Sanderson, he's one that, so he's got I don't know if you've read any of his books, but he's got his Cosmere, and they're all connected. They're all in the same type of universe, but he's barely, like, if you read the text, you can read each book individually. Like, you don't have to read one or the other. And he's very careful about how he interacts with them because he doesn't want it to like implode and,
Yeah, that makes sense. Like right now, I'm trying to read through Mistborn. Obviously that's gonna take some time because I'm also reading The Hobbit, and I'm trying to catch up to other stuff. But if I'm not mistaken, isn't his world set like in different time periods? So like Mistborn starts first. That's in like the Victorian era or something like that, and then the next series moves further down the line in time.
Yeah, they're like different time periods, but they're also like different worlds. So like Mistborn happens on like a totally different world than the Stormlight Archive, but they're all in the same universe. And so it's kind of that like there's characters that connect, but like only if you know to look for them. But if you're just a casual reader, it doesn't like you can read Mistborn and not know what happens in Stormlight Archive, and it's not a big deal.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah. I think he's working towards like, eventually he'll work towards his endgame moment where it all kind of comes together. But I think he's going so slow with the process that by the time it actually gets there, it'll really pay off and it'll really work. Where like he's not trying to just shove it all in and make it happen all at once, kind of a thing. So, yeah, I haven't actually. The Mistborn ones are ones I have not read yet. I've read Stormlight Archive. I've actually got to finish the book 4, but I pretty much read that, and I've read some other stuff, but I haven't read the Mistborn. That's on my list for sure. I'm not reading The Hobbit, but I am reading The Lord of the Rings right now. Nice. I haven't read that for years, and so that's I've obviously seen the movies an embarrassing amount of times, but
see, lucky for you, I haven't seen the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings in full, like the trilogy, but I've seen both Hobbits, and from what I've seen, the Lord of the Rings blows that series out of the water.
Yeah, the Hobbit movies didn't quite make it Like they're fine, but they're not amazing. The Lord of the Rings movies are just unbeatable. I mean, they're some of the best movies ever made, in my opinion.
I mean, makes sense. Peter Jackson.
Yeah.
He's the guy that made King Kong cool.
It's true. It's very true. So, in the comic book industry, or I guess the self-publishing industry, since you're not like in the mainstream comic book industry, what are some of the challenges you face with that? Like, what has been some of the biggest hurdles you've had to overcome with publishing and putting out your work?
Honestly, I'd say marketing, being able to finance your project, and once everything comes together, being able to platform your project. Because, and the last one I think is one of the most important ones, because that helps generate, I want to say revenue is the right word, but, once everything's done, you really need to, I think it's best to expand your reach outwards. And in the day of the internet, it's really important that you have as many ways to get your book as possible.
Mm-hmm. But, so you can get yours like on Amazon, and can you get yours printed too? Like you can get them on Amazon and print, all that kind of stuff.
For me, my first two books, Wolfsbane right now, number one is on Amazon, but I'm trying to figure out how to do the printing thing right, because for some reason I formatted the book in a way that they don't really like. But you can get both my Wolfsbane series free on this site called Global Comics, and yeah, this site is actually pretty good. You can pretty much upload even if you're indie, you can upload your comic book there for anyone to see, and you can choose whether or not to put it behind a paywall. And recently, I think companies like Mad Cave, Image, and whatnot, they're also using the platform, so you can get books from them, even the new ones. Like what was that that one universe that they just did? It has Geiger, Red Coat, and
I don't know.
Either way, yeah, you can get a whole bunch of new stuff on there.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, so there's multiple avenues to like get it out, and one of the ones I've seen is Lulu.com, I think.
Oh, what's it called?
Lulu, LULU.com. Maybe that's something to look in. Maybe because I think they can do comic book printing as well.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check that one out.
Yeah. So are you doing so two questions. Are you doing this full time? And two, what kind of keeps you motivated and disciplined to like keep moving forward? Like what's kind of pushing your drive for doing this?
So in the future, right now I'm doing this part-time, but I really want to be able to make a living off of this. To me, I've been writing pretty much my entire life since I was in elementary school. And I don't know, I just really love the creative process that it takes to be able to come up with entire worlds and have characters that are just fascinating and give people, makes you feel like you have a friend that you can talk to or you can relate to and stuff like that. And another big thing that I always wanted to do is I always wanted to find a way to help people, or it's to share some people, everyone's, share experiences, whether it be mine or someone that I talked to on the bus or whatever like that. It's I think just having that there is a really good thing.
Yeah, creating communities is, I think, really cool.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's what, part of what I've been trying to start doing with this YouTube channel is I just want to create a community of specifically, really anybody, but specifically like a space for indie creators to come and just be a part of, see each other's works and talk and share insights and how they did stuff. And I think, we live in such a cool age where you can create a community doing whatever you want, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dude, that's the magic of it.
Yeah, very cool. So, what advice, if you were talking to someone and they're like, I have an idea for a comic book, what advice would you give them? How would you walk them through maybe the process of getting their work from start to finish? And then is there any kind of insights in that path that you would offer them?
Well, this advice for me, as I've got done my journey, there's actually like two paths that I found that you can take. If you're looking to just have fun and you're not looking to actually like make a living off your book, my advice would be to just go and just do it. You may not have the experience that a lot of pros or whatever would have, but you can build experience just by trying new things and seeing how things work. Even if oh shoot, the train. But even if you're just starting out drawing or writing, I think it really does help a lot. Back when I was in elementary school, or no, I was in intermediate school. That's like a middle school. Mm-hmm. I was just writing stick figure comics all day, and even though they weren't really that good in my opinion, they still helped me figure out how to do paneling more effectively, how to tell an engaging story with a limited amount of space. It's fun. But if you're going to be doing comics full time, I suggest doing a lot of research beforehand. And this isn't necessarily saying that you have to do this before you start a book. You can do it while you can just watch a few YouTube videos on story structure and stuff like that if you're writing. Mm-hmm. And a big channel that I like to watch is Hello Future Me. He helps a lot. But yeah, just research. Be mindful of what your strengths are in writing, and also know that even though there are rules in writing a narrative or writing a story, you don't necessarily have to follow all of them. Just pick and choose. Like, know why certain rules are set in place, and know how to break them as well.
Yeah, knowing how to, because that's one thing. Like when I first started writing, you're learning, so you read I read a bunch of books about writing. I looked at things on YouTube and all of the internet, and it's really easy at first to take all that in and be like, this is how you have to do it. Like, this is the rules, and this is what I read in this book, and that's what the rules say. But yeah, like you said, there's times to break it, and there's times to not follow the rules, and those times are based around you need to tell your story, not the story that's someone wants you to tell or that you're supposed to tell, the story that you want to tell, and that's where it will become the most fruitful. Yeah.
It's like if you're looking at like one of the most successful writers in our era, Stephen King, I assure you that he wrote. Give me 1 second. No. Oh, sorry. So Stephen King, I can assure you that he doesn't write like Ernest Hemingway. He has a style that's completely his own, and Ernest Hemingway would tell you that there's like a specific way that you're supposed to write. And yeah, honestly, there's like I love that there's like a lot of ways that you can just write. It's fun.
Yeah. Well, and everyone has such a different voice, and you also, so we kind of live in a world too where you have to also realize the reality that like nothing is truly original anymore. So like everything, I mean, it's hard to do something that is completely original that no one has ever seen. And so, but because of that, like some people would see that as maybe a bad thing. I see that as a good thing. It's like, now you can take all of these inspirations and influences you have and create something different that honors or calls back to those things. So it's kind of like, because everything's kind of been done before, that's like the rule book that you can now break. And then you can figure out how to combine things differently, but then also match that to like your storytelling style. And there's enough people on the planet that you will find someone to like what you do, as long as you're telling a good story.
Yeah. Like, the world is like a huge melting pot in it itself, and there's like a whole bunch of different cultures, ethnicities, experiences, and whatnot. You're definitely bound to find somebody.
Yeah, I think as long as you're committed to telling a good story, you'll find people that will read it.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
Story is the most important thing.
Most important thing, for sure. So what kind of we can talk about this a little bit if you want to. What are some of the things you see with trends right now in the comic book industry, or trends even in the writing industry if you're reading novels or whatever, that you dislike? Like, what are your thoughts on some of that stuff?
So lately I have been seeing a discussion of people saying that they think The Chosen One is kind of outdated and outplayed. And honestly, they have a point that there have been like a lot of Chosen One stories that kind of repeat like the same narrative of sort of like the 5-act structure, if I'm getting that right. It's like they all go on the same journey in the exact same way. But I honestly think that like being the Chosen One isn't really that bad. It's just the way that they deal with being the Chosen One needs to evolve or be explored more. And ironically, that's something that I tried to do in Pendragon.
Yeah. It's kind of like the difference between a stereotype and an archetype. Yeah. Like, a stereotype is you're taking something and you're applying, like, this is, the generalization of what that should be, as opposed to an archetype is more like, the hero journey is kind of the hero journey. Like, you can put some twists and you can maybe change it a little, but for the most part, they kind of have to have the same types of realizations to be the hero.
True.
Otherwise, they're not. They're some other part of the character. But within that, though, there's a lot of freedom to, like, they can come to those realizations or come to those plot points in a lot of different ways.
Okay. Yeah. Like, for instance, let's see, Conan. I'm not well versed with him, but I'm just gonna be talking specifically about the movie version. Like, he would be considered like a hero, but the way that he goes about it and the way that he actually rose up to become that hero is vastly different from, like, let's say someone like Luke Skywalker or I don't know, Frodo Baggins.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, it's pretty interesting that you can still follow some of those tropes, yet lead to somewhere entirely different.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's where I would like draw the distinction, because whereas like a stereotype is like, there is no distinction. Like, a stereotype is a stereotype, whereas an archetype, like the hero journey, again, like we were saying, is you could have multiple kinds of heroes. They're all basically on the same type of storyline, but how they get there can vary a lot.
But definitely.
Yeah. So what kind of projects are you working on coming up? We've got Pendragon. Has that come out yet, Pendragon?
Oh, Pendragon actually launches this month, June 20th, on Kickstarter. All and right. We're gonna be after that's done, that's gonna be a 30-day campaign. And after that's done, we'll be launching again on Fund My Comic.
Okay.
And that's gonna be in August. It's gonna be sometime in August. I'll keep people posted online.
Yeah, and that'll be on the first 30 days will be on Kickstarter.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
And
Cool.
you said you asked if I had any other projects.
Yeah, yeah. Would you have anything like that you're working on the background or?
Okay. So I actually, a few days ago, I did release a lineup that I'm doing. I'm actually working on a few projects in the back burner right now. Pretty much all of them have been put on hold until Pendragon finishes. I want to make sure I have a really good book with this. But I'm doing a revamp to Wolfsbane, and that's going to be have an entire new a new team for the vision that I wanted to actually have for the series. I'm doing a superhero type story that talks about revenge and how even though you want to do right, there are certain things that have an effect on the community that you either sure to protect or sure to rid rid crime of it and whatnot. What else? I'm also trying to branch out into some comedy stuff. We're gonna be doing a project on that. And well, the thing that I'm most excited for is something that I've actually been working on since high school. It's a shonen manga, which I can't get the name of the project, but it's meant to be entirely martial arts based, and there's a lot of cultural inspirations like from Hinduism, and I'd say like like basic martial arts practices that
Mhm.
I think people would like to see in the book.
Yeah. So you have quite a lot of genres and influences that you're working on. That's cool.
Oh yeah, as a writer, I think it's really important to be able to like test your limits and see what you're good at and what exactly you need to work on. That way, in the future, you can actually have something that's like really solid.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Love it. That's cool. Um, so feedback. Let's talk about that. So, of course, when you put something creative out in the world, it's not a guarantee that everyone's going to love it.
Oh
You're going
yeah.
to have people that love it. You're going to have people who hate it. How do you kind of manage some of that expectation for yourself? And then, what's like, I guess, what have you seen in that? Have you had a lot of people that have disliked things that are vocal about it? Do you not get much of that? Like, and then how do you kind of handle it if you do?
Yeah. This one actually has a funny story. So, yeah, there have been people that like Pendragon, and there have been people that have been vocal about them not liking it. Which to me, if you don't like it, that's fine. I don't care. But yeah, it's one of the when I first put Pendragon out, someone was griping about not having characters that I'm sure you're aware. There's like this dichotomy in the comic space where it's like um, it's diversity versus yeah, both sides want diversity. Both sides want diversity, but they want it in completely different ways and whatnot.
Hmm.
So when
Hmm.
I posted Pendragon, that got a few mixed receptions. Some was saying that it's pretty much the same thing as adding in a quote unquote woke character
Hmm.
and to replace the lore or the culture of something that came before, since it's
Yeah.
Arthurian mythology. And then
Right.
you have another one that says it's pretty much not what I say it's like it's not really something that they're interested in because of, because of the aspect. But
Hmm.
yeah, either way, it's just other people's opinions. I don't really care because at the end of the day, they haven't read the story. They're just speaking on stuff that they assume to be true, if that makes any sense. So
Yeah.
don't shred it. Just don't feed into the negative comments as much because that's sometimes that is gonna drag you down depending on who you are. And just urge people to buy the book to truly have an opinion for themselves. And if you do that, I'm sure you're going to get some people that actually do understand what you were trying to do.
It's interesting that, they would give you that kind of feedback too, because like you weren't putting out there saying like, I'm going to tell this story exactly how it used to be told. Like it's not like a retelling. You're creating your own thing based off of that. So
Exactly.
to me, that's more of like you're creating your story it's just based off of Arthurian legend. It doesn't mean it is the actual legend. So you can, do what you want to do with it.
Oh, exactly. I had some people who were confused. They thought that David Gracie, the main character, who's African American, was in the same time period as Arthur. And honestly, I can understand why they'd be confused on that. But no, it's a continuation that takes place in the modern day, and we do some flashback scenes where you get to see the original characters that actually birthed the legend. It's going to be I'm trying to stay really faithful to the past works, and of how the characters were, what they would have done in that situation or whatnot. But I also want to take a little bit of leeway so that it makes sense for the story.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's really cool. Well, as we're kind of pushing into the 45 minutes, 50 minutes or so, what, if anything, would you give as kind of your main or like final advice of like anyone who wants to get into stuff like this, anyone who's doing any kind of creative project, like what would you tell them about pursuing that?
Honestly, just don't do it because you feel like you have to or you feel like there's a need. Do it if you actually love doing it. Like, what was I going to say? There's like a lot of stuff out there where people do it either to get a paycheck or to, because they have to meet a quota or whatnot. But the truly passionate stuff that I see is from people that actually want to tell those stories and who love trying to find a new way to, express a different archetype or something like that. So it has to be about love.
Yeah, it's awesome. Very cool. Well, hey, man, it's been real good talking to you. And so why don't you maybe give us a rundown of like where we can find your stuff, where to connect with you on social media, all that kind of stuff, and what are the best ways to support what you're doing?
Okay, so the number one thing, I'm always on Twitter at Wolfsbane Comics, so you can follow me on there. I also have a Beacons account, and that's pretty much like a link page where you can find all my stuff. I'll be on there. You can read my first issue of Wolfsbane Comics for free on Global Comics, just so you can get an idea of what we do. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Awesome.
Sounds great. Love it. Well, thanks again, and thanks everyone for watching. This has been Writing Quest. Make sure we'll put all that stuff in the description too, so make sure to check out Aaron's stuff at Wolfsbane Comics, and we will see you next time on Writing Quest.